Can you hear me, Miss Brittany? Can you hear me?
Okay.
Hello? Well, something's not happening. I'm gonna start that over once it ends. So it won't be a
Welcome to the Small Business Network Show. Welcome to Dr. James Small Business Show. Welcome to the Small Business Network Show. Welcome to Dr.
Hello, Miss Brittany.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hey, Mr. Keith, are you here? Hello, Mr. Keith. Mr. Keith. Is he on the phone? No. So she's on
Dr. James Small Business
Then when she answers, yeah, I guess they have so we get him back on the phone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here in Arlington, Globe Life Park. Dr. James McConnell's The Small Business Network. How's everyone doing? How you doing, Miss Carol?
I'm fine, Dr. James. How are you? It is a lovely day today.
Man, this is wonderful. We have Miss Brittany, our co-host, also. She's on the call-in line right now. How are you doing, Miss Brittany?
I'm absolutely wonderful, Dr. James. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Just always trying to make $1 out of 15 cents.
I heard that. Gotta get it while the getting is good.
Gotta get it while the getting is good. Our guest, Mr. Keith, he will be getting on momentarily. There's some technical difficulties, but he'll be getting on in a few minutes.
Okay.
So anyway, we're going to take off where we left off at with the astronomy talk. Last week we talked about the stars as far as our sun, the ending part of it. Well, this week what we're going to talk about are the massive stars, and the massive stars is pretty much they go through a different life. Mr. Keith, are you on the phone with us now?
I am here.
Awesome. Miss Brittany, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
How sweet it is.
All right.
And how sweet it was. And how sweet it will be.
All right now.
Okay. So, back to the astronomy part of it. So, the bigger stars that's about 10 to 20 times massive than our sun, they go through a different type of ending. They go through a supernova. And a supernova is a cataclysmic explosion that you really can't understand the power of it. And plus, when they're more massive, the smaller stars like our sun, it goes through the 10 billion year cycle. But the bigger stars, they last about 100 million years, nowhere near. And probably because they run through its fuel quicker. And normally the more massive stars, they have the sheer power to convert carbon into the more heavier elements like lithium, magnesium, and so on and so forth. And it keeps doing that, but it does it at a. It's kind of like how you burning at both ends of the candle. You know how you do. That's what the massive star does. It burns at both ends of the candle, so it burns through its fuel quicker. But what happens is when it finally converts to lead. Okay, lead cannot be converted any further. So in that 100 million years, and once it goes through its red giant stage, and when the core is converted to lead, lead cannot be converted anymore. So the star collapses up on itself, and when that happens, then man, you have a cataclysmic explosion.
Wow.
So that's something I want to share. And what we'll do is on next week we'll talk about the stars that are actually bigger than that. What do they go through? And so the explosion that those stars 10 to 20 times the size of our sun, those are the ones that normally go through that explosion stage. And the last one that we saw was back in 2006. And to us, it was a flicker in the sky because it was like about 200 light years away. And just so our listeners and viewers can understand exactly what that means, 1 light year equals 1 trillion miles away. So 200 light years away is trillions and trillions of miles away, and we can still see it. At night when you're looking at a star, sometimes you're looking at a star, might be 20 times the size of our sun, but it's so far away, it's trillions of miles away, and it looks like a little bitty star, but that's not what it is. So that's what the life looks like as far as that's concerned. And man, that's incredible to know that certain stars and suns explode at the end of his lifetime. So on next week and on next week we'll talk about how the bigger stars than that, what they do. So I can't wait to get to that point. But changing topics.
One question on that, Dr. James.
Oh, okay.
Okay, a couple of weeks ago, we saw something outside. Tell me about what we saw.
Oh, okay. We had a meteor shower. This shower, I think, was on August the 11th.
Somewhere along in there?
It was able to be seen by a lot of the world. Some of the world couldn't see it, but we had about 100 meteors within a certain amount of time that you were able to see. If you were in certain parts of the earth, it would have been a light show.
Okay.
You know, the biggest light show that we've had in a very long time.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
that's a good question. I like that.
All right now.
Miss Brittany, any questions about it, Mr. Keith?
No, not at the moment.
I'm good.
Okay. That'll work. Well, okay. Changing topics, Miss Carol. I know that you wanted to talk about schools and the school system. Ways to protect the staff and children while in the classroom. I know that that's a topic that you would like to talk about.
Yes, sir. As you know, school will be starting soon, and ways to protect the children and the staff is, of course, wash your hands. That's one of the big ones. And wear your PPE, your mask, or whatever the protocol is for the school system. Have a monitor system in place. Monitor children when they go out of the room. Where are they going? How far are they going? Who are they come in contact with? Are they keeping 6 feet distance? Are they wearing their mask? So it's like a monitor system as they come in for that morning and as they go out, and monitoring all the way around the clock until the end of their day. And small groups. I know back in the day we used to have like 27, 32 people in one room. Are we downsizing like 9 to 10, whatever the protocol for the school district? And always do the required policy of what's in play for the school system.
Oh man, that is awesome. So, have they or will they return to the classroom?
Well, it is like up in the air for most people has returned, but a lot of outbreaks have been going on. So the school begins in this area around September the 6th or the 11th, or until at least October the 6th. In the Dallas County community, the virtual learning will be limited in the next 2 weeks. They'll be going to virtual learning, like online, doing online. And the committee says that they noted that 63 of the country's 101 largest school district has decided to start with virtual assistant. And also Dallas County Committee says about the country's public health, along with the Public Health Authority, Dr. Philip Hong, he said in the next 4 weeks he will have let the school superintendent make the decision about opening up the district in Dallas County.
Okay, okay. What about learning studies? I mean, what subjects were hardest for you in school?
Well, actually, it was like geography and English. As you know, I have a hard time pronouncing my words. And also, as a little girl, I have that cliff tongue. And it's also, if you hear me not pronouncing my words right, I had that little cliff tongue when I was a little girl. And English wasn't a good topic for me because of the pronouncing words. How about you, Dr. James?
Well, see, the hardest subject, probably history.
History?
History was my hardest subject because I wasn't interested in it.
Okay.
So that was my hardest subject. How about you, Miss Brittany? What was yours?
Well, it depends on the grade level. Starting out, it was science. Like you said, because I wasn't interested in science. I wasn't interested in the life of a plant or, that type of thing. But I didn't understand it. And once I took a health class, and I started understanding the human body, which is also science, and anatomy. That piqued my interest more in the science field. But before that, science was a dead zone for me.
Wow.
Man, okay. How about you, Mr. Keith?
If we're going just K through 12, trying to think the one that I thought was the hardest, calculus, my senior year of high school, because about half the class, they all planned to go to college and be engineers. They were all dead set on being engineers, and I am not an engineer. So I understood the concepts, but I had to try harder than anybody else in that room just to get it. And I remember my friends trying to explain, well, this is how this object rotates around an axis. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. And he's having to draw stuff out so I can get it. But I mean, it took a little bit of just reading it. And I did all right in the class. But when I got to college, that was the first thing I looked for was where's business calculus? So I can stay away from anything that has to involve any sort of advanced differential equations.
Man, I got you. So, Ms. Carol, what kind of things are you interested in learning about?
Well, of course, everybody want to learn how to make more money. So that's one. In the knowledge and somebody that has already strived, like Dr. James, he's teaching us how to learn how to increase our wealth and money-making strategies.
I love it. And me personally, I'm always looking to learn about things that I'm not sharp in, which is such a broad thing. There's not one thing that I'm looking to learn more. It's everything that I don't know anything about.
There you go.
I probably have 12 books at home, and the thing I do is probably not that smart, but I'll read maybe 3 chapters of a book, put it down, put something in there to make sure I get back to the right page, go to the next book, read through next book, and I don't go back to that first book for months. and so I try to read all of them at the same time, and I don't know why I can't just focus on one book, get it done. But what I do is when I read a book, I start over and read it again. Now, I don't read every single word the second time. The first time I read 90% of the words. I'll skip over something that I feel like doesn't really apply to me. But when I read it for the second time, I'll probably read 50 to 60% because I definitely skip over stuff that didn't interest me. So that's kind of what I do. I'm interested in learning more about everything, really, as it pertains to business,
Yes.
making money, and growth.
Absolutely.
So the next topic I actually want to talk about is music.
All right.
Music. So, Miss Kara, what music did you like when you were younger?
Oh, Lord, have mercy. All right. When I was young, I can remember everybody know Michael Jackson. Everywhere you went, and Michael Jackson. Beat it, beat it, beat it. Billie Jean. Billie Jean is not my da-da-da. Y'all know it. So, Michael Jackson, I like jazz. I like Usher. I like blues. I mean, all the things that when you was a kid. I remember the 45 album.
Yes.
You remember that?
No.
Oh,
I don't remember that. Now.
the 45. This was when I was young. I
Right.
remember that. And I remember it was like in a box and stuff like that. And you played at 45 and you got all those albums. And I mean, man, it was awesome. I just enjoyed that time because that was a time where you didn't have any stress or worries. All you just do, I know me, we just sit around and just listen to old time music back in the day.
Well, Miss Carol, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No, I'm just messing with you, Miss Carol.
Oh, don't be doing that.
Miss Carol,
Oh,
that sounded like the
that.
1930s now, Miss
No,
Carol.
no, that ain't.
I'm just
no,
joking. I'm just
Hey,
joking.
that was the days back in the day.
I'm interested in hearing Mr. Keith. Mr. Keith, I want to know, who did you like?
When I was in school,
Yeah.
well, I had the benefit of being brainwashed by my parents and what my dad listened to, and I listened to pretty much the same stuff he listened to, just because. I think that's the kind of the difference between certain generations. Is you remember you always heard, I think it was the prior generation where their parents hated their music, but when it came to my parents and then me, we had almost identical tastes. I mean, I still remember driving around in the car listening to the Beatles with my dad, to the point where they're still my favorite band. Any band he would listen to, it seemed like that was the case. So a lot of it was a wide variety of stuff. And then when I was in high school, late middle school, and then in high school, I was in jazz band. So I was exposed to a wide variety of jazz music, which I ate up. I just loved it. And then I wasn't the world's best musician, but I really liked to understand how it was put together. So I would sit there and, and talk to friends of mine who were drummers, or, like a bass player, and it's like, well, what are you looking at here? What are you trying to do here? And they're like, oh, well, I listen to this guy. So then you'd find out about this guy. And then you listen to the guitarist, and he's like, well, all I listen to is B.B. King. So I'd have to go track down B.B. King. Or, drummers saying, hey, I listen to James Brown, because James at one point had apparently 2 drummers, which is awesome. So I'm tracking down James Brown, and it's like you just get this wide variety. And we would sit there and just talk music. I mean, it was the best thing. We get done with practice, and we're just talking, and we all had different backgrounds. So we all had, coming from different areas. But I still remember coming home one time, and my parents took the day off to paint. And a friend of mine dropped me off at the house, and then had to come back around for some reason. And when she came back around, opened up the door, it's like, wow, your parents don't mind you listening to the music that loud? And I was like, that's their stereo. And they're blaring like Led Zeppelin while they're painting the living room. I was like, no, that's theirs. They're listening to really loud music. He's like, oh, your parents are kind of cool. I'm like, yeah. And I've noticed that my whole generation, at least, all of my friends, we almost have that identical taste in music as our parents. And like, wow, what happened? And then I look at my kids and it's like, it's not that I think that their music is garbage. It's just, frankly, the music in the 70s and the 80s was so much better. And then you mentioned Michael Jackson, but I was thinking Stevie Wonder, because a friend of mine was talking about something the other day, and I said, no. Stevie has a song from Songs in the Key of Life. You really need to listen to this. It's so far superior to what you're listening to right now, but this guy sampled from it, and you can catch it. It's not like lines, but it's little snippets, little pieces. I'm like, no, listen to Stevie, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about. So it's always just a learning experience. Somebody will bring up a band now, and I'm like, how did I miss that? And I was like, well, I missed it because there's 8,000 different bands that are out there, and when you're a kid, you get kind of, you get stuck on one thing and listen to it over and over again. And now I'm just, I'm the worst about being a fan of bands after the lead singer dies, or after somebody dies, and I'll just start eating it up.
Man, well, how about you, Miss Brittany?
Well, I love music. I I don't do anything without music. Even when I was in college, I had to have some background music to study to. So with that being said, my music playlist will go from Sade to Bob Marley to Tupac to Garth Brooks. I like it all. I really, when people say, oh, well, who's your favorite such and such, I cannot name a favorite because it might change 2 weeks from now, depending on my mood, depends on my playlist, depends on what I'm listening to. I love music.
Man, that sounds like me. And actually, my answer is it's going to be really awesome. I'll say the kind of music I liked when I was younger was a mix between R&B, pop, and rap. And obviously, I grew up in the age of NWA, gangster rap. And so I'd play that in my car. I'd be riding. I'd be like, man, this jamming. I'd be jamming at NWA. And but R&B, I liked R&B. I like pop, and more importantly, I know I had this discussion a little while ago, but I have a daughter. She just turned 16. We just recorded a real recording in a studio, and that she just completed last week. And we're getting ready to put them on like platforms, and she's a R&B / pop. And so she's going to be interviewed here extremely soon.
Okay.
We're going to be able to play her songs. Once I get it on the platforms live next week, I'm going to try to get her interviewed and all that. So I guess she's become one of my favorite singers now, right?
All right. Yes, she is.
There you go.
She's
All right. Awesome.
yeah, she's become one of my favorite singers. So our next topic, Miss Brittany will talk to Mr. Keith about topics about Williams and Williams, and we will talk about that next.
I get lost inside my thoughts, and when I start to think, oh, the hold closest starts to end up on the brink. I tried so hard, but all these scars, they cut so deep, I bleed. I fell so fast from heaven, it's like someone clipped my wings. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe, and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I wanna say goodbye.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. James, host of Dr. James McConnell's The Small Business Network, broadcasting live each week on Saturday at 1 p.m. from Fishbowl Radio Network Studios at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. Log on to hear us talk about and feature small businesses and the life of a small business, the struggles, the triumphs, the daily operation, the grind of starting and running a small business. So be sure to log on each week on Saturday at 1 p.m. to catch Dr. James McConnell's The Small Business Network. Let's jump in. Hello, Dr. James here, from founder and CEO of MBC Enterprises. If you want to use our investment team, just let us know. You can use us to help you get into your own business, use us to get into any kind of real estate, get you a company car, for your projects, your inventions, whatever you need. You can use our investment team to help you get started. We want to know how? Let us know. Phone number is 469-765-5327. And again, use our investment team for anything that you think you need investing in, especially businesses and more. You let us know. Phone number 469-765-5327. We're looking forward for your phone call and for your dreams of getting started. Have a great day.
All right. We are back. Arlington, Texas, Globe Life Park. Dr. James McConnell's The Small Business Network. Miss Brittany, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm just headed up to Oklahoma.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pass this off to you. I know that you have questions for Mr. Keith.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Keith, I know we touched briefly on your law firm, Williams & Williams. You kind of discussed some of the cases that you were working on and why your law firm is set apart from others. Can you continue to elaborate on last week's discussion?
Sure. I think, last time we covered, in general, the kind of cases that we take. I know I touched on a few examples, and that's not an exclusive list of examples. I mean, we take quite a variety of cases. That's what I really wanted to talk about is those instances where you do need an attorney. For somebody, if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, hey, I do need to talk to an attorney about this, because what we do is we provide an evaluation service where we'll evaluate your situation and basically tell you whether or not it is a viable case, if it has merit, if it makes sense to proceed, and we can go through all those details and go through that. And I'll go ahead and give the quick pitch, the quick phone number, because it might as well. The number is 214-396-5485, and that'll put you in touch with somebody who can schedule an appointment, and you can come in and talk. But what I wanted to talk about is basically what the lawyer needs, what I would need from you as a client in order to increase your chances of success. And I originally, when I put this question together, I was thinking of it in terms of court. But let's be honest, a lot of people, the last thing they ever want to do is go to court. They just want to get something resolved, and that's why they're coming to us. And a lot of times you can get it resolved with, discussions, negotiations, and all of that. But I did come up with a short list of, items that I think are key, are essential if you're going to be communicating with your attorney. Number one is what, I don't know if it's technically the cardinal rule, it's my cardinal rule, is honesty. Once you engage an attorney, you have what's called attorney-client privilege. And there's some parameters to it, but essentially, if I'm your attorney, anything you tell me is a privileged communication. So you can basically elaborate on all these deals. I have an obligation to keep that information between us. Like I said, there are certain parameters, and an attorney will tell you, hey, this is what I need to know, this is what I don't need to know, and spell it out, ask you like a list of questions. But the honesty is the key rule, the key point there. You're talking to your attorney, you don't need to lie to your attorney. I've not had it happen in a particular lawsuit scenario, but I have had circumstances where somebody kind of fudged the truth a little bit, And then as we're going through the transaction, you find out, well, this isn't entirely honest, this isn't entirely accurate, and it changes your negotiating posture. Whereas if I knew that ahead of time, I could have already, covered it. I could have already, basically remedied the situation. But I didn't have that option because I wasn't given correct information. So bottom line, don't lie to your attorney. Your attorney's on your side. Your attorney's not against you. And your attorney's going to make sure that that information, if it doesn't need to go out, is not going to go anywhere other than in that office. Number 2, details. If you're coming to your attorney with what you think is a case, then you need to provide the attorney with as much information as you can get. If you had a conversation at work and somebody sent you some text messages that you felt were inappropriate, keep those text messages. If somebody sent you an email that you felt was inappropriate, keep that email. You keep that in a separate folder. You do whatever you have to do to save that, but what you don't do is delete any of this. If you're keeping details of, hey, this happened to me on this day, well, go into as much detail as you can. Write in a journal. Put that information together. Keep it somewhere safe. And if you remember additional information down the road, you can go back to that journal and go, oh, yeah, also on Tuesday this happened. So at least you're keeping it. But as these events happen, the more that you are able to journal, the more you're able to keep those details is going to do nothing but help your case. And then number 3 is, and this one's kind of hard to do sometimes, but you at least have an idea. And it's have a goal or an idea of what you want to achieve from the case. Now, that being said, your attorney can help you flesh that out. But if, let's say you had an instance where fraudulent situation occurred and you ended up losing a piece of property because somebody used a fake POA with your name on it and sold a piece of property out from under you. Well, money's not going to make you whole. You want that property. And let's say you wanted to, build your future home on that piece of property. Well, no other piece of property is the same as a piece of property. They aren't making any more land. So that's your goal. Write that down and say, look, this is my goal. Now, your attorney can tell you, hey, this may be possible, this may not be possible. He or she will give you options, but at least they'll, have an idea when you walk in, and then, and I've had, circumstances where people have said, no, I want $10 million. It's like, well, it's not reasonable, it's not feasible, but at least you have a goal. You wanted this. And I can at least walk that person through and say, look, there's a statutory limit on your damages, and here's this, but here are your options. And our job is really to give you options, not to make your decision for you, but to give you options. So those are my big 3. I think if you have, like I said, as many details as possible, you're honest with your attorney, and you have at least a goal, a general goal in mind, we can help you out, and we can kind of point you in the right direction. And like I said, if it has merit, then more than happy to take on that case for you.
Well, I would like to actually add the part of the honesty part, don't lie to your attorney. I mean, that is a huge point, because I think a lot of people may go in there thinking that they don't realize that the lawyer works for them. Sometimes people are going there thinking hide it from you is being hidden from, from the judge or folks that is listening. They're not understanding, and they should. And I'm sure it's a basic, the lawyer works for me. But like you say, why lie to the attorney? You're there to help them. By law, you have to help them if you're going to take on that case, right, Mr. Keith?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I've had an example, and this was not with a firm, but I had it previously where it was actually a cheating situation for a university, and the person was expelled. And the initial plan was to, basically contest that, go through their entire appellate process, which would involve an appellate body and the swearing in of people. And the client, initially told me, no, I didn't cheat. There was no cheating involved. This is all preposterous. How could you have ever accused me of that? And about a week before, kind of came back and said, well, yeah, we did cheat. And I'm explaining to her, I was like, look, now I can't put you on the stand. Now you can't testify because she was essentially wanting to walk in there and say that she didn't cheat. I'm like, well, now you can't, and I can't use you as a witness in this particular set of circumstances. So it changes the entire strategy. It changes the entire dynamic, and it really, it made, all the negotiations I had up to that point, I might as well have just crumbled them and thrown them in the trash because they amounted to nothing, and I had to start over from scratch. So yeah, it's nothing but detrimental.
Gotcha. All right, Miss Brittany.
So, I remember last week you touched on a black man going to jail, and there was no evidence as to why he went to jail. Can you kind of talk about those cases, and is the system broken is what I want to know.
Yeah, those cases are indicative of problems with the system. And those, like I said, with those particular cases, the one with the gentleman who is in for life for little to no evidence. I'm, in the process of appealing that for, various reasons. The main reason is his attorney was flat out awful. He offered little to no assistance whatsoever, and basically was just there to cash a check as a public defender, which I personally is inexcusable, and it's grounds to remove his bar card. But I'm not judge, jury, or executioner in his case. I'm just there to work for my client. The other instance was the high school age girl who was assaulted by her supervisor. Young lady was deprived, and like I said, it really does. It hits me personally because, like I said last week, she was deprived her entire senior year. All the little things that you anticipate when you're a senior didn't happen. It basically took her from being an A and B student who got good grades, a student who wasn't skipping school, just a good kid, and she doesn't want to go to school anymore. She drops out, and what is that? There's what amount of justice? There's, unfortunately, it has to be a dollar figure attached to it. But we talk about these matters, and that's one of the things I think about. And I'll get to is the system broken? But we live in an era of Black Lives Matter. We live in an era of Me Too, and these are important causes. They're catchphrases. What I think of it is, what is my role in that? Everybody should, and I think everyone should do this. Everyone should examine what is your role. And many people, it's writing to their congressman. Many people, it's protesting. For me, my role, the way I feel that I'm the most successful, is to fight the system, within the courts. Give this gentleman an opportunity to have his voice heard in front of. This is going to be, if this goes, it'll be the highest governing, the highest judicial body in that state that I'll be arguing. And just basically saying, look, this gentleman did not have a fair chance. He didn't even have a fair trial. No reasonable judicial body would have ever considered this a fair trial. With a young lady, it's essentially just to say, look, this young woman was deprived of this, and you, large corporation, you're going to pay. You're going to basically make her whole, and I don't think you can ever make her whole. It may take years of therapy. It may take years, but you're gonna open up the checkbook, and you're gonna take care of her because it's your obligation. You have an obligation to make sure that when you hire supervisors, that they don't grope young girls. You have an obligation to scrutinize so fervently your supervisors that they never have this come up. And if it does happen one time, it's not the only time it happens. I guarantee you. So you need to go ahead and clear the decks. Do whatever you need to do. Have training seminars. Fire a bunch of people en masse because you can't trust the supervisors. Do what needs to be done. But you have to do something. You can't just sit there. And, I thought about this question as far as, is the system broken? The system is flawed. It's very flawed. We're talking about, and it goes into my discussion of how do we get to this point as a country where this happens? Well, it's happened for years and years. Has it gotten better? Absolutely. Will it continue to get better? I think it will. But it takes more than just one person. It takes more than it really takes. It's funny. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, what it really takes is for people to take action and people to encourage others to take action. And it's not just marching. That's good. It's not just protesting. That's good. But get involved. And it's not just voting. Voting is great. Voting is very important, but it's not enough. It's like, and I asked, it was like show of hands to the group of people. I'm like, how many of you have ever considered running for public office? Nobody. How many of you have ever actually, been appointed to some position where you're in a supervisory position? No one. Like, how many of you have signed up for your child's PTA? None of them. And like, guys, it's got to start somewhere. You can't say, oh, we've got a broken system. Yeah, we've got a broken system, but how are you helping it? We can't just fire everybody in Congress. I mean, that's not an option, and we can talk about that in a little bit further.
All right. Well, that sounds awesome. That sounds. I mean, that is, how sweet it is.
Yes, it is.
So, what we're gonna do when we come back, we're gonna talk about wisdom talk, the subject tenacity and strength, and we're gonna talk about that next.
I have the opportunity today to give you some information that I think would be invaluable to you. I am part of an organization that every 2 or 3 months gives a presentation which presents income opportunities. It's called Money Making. So what we want to do is to get this information out to individuals who are indeed interested in doing just that, making money. So what I'd like to do is present an individual who is also going to give you some more information on that event. Dr. James, come in and let them know exactly what it is that they can expect once they come in.
Thank you, sir. Guys, this money-making event, like Mr. Campbell said, is every 2 to 3 months. No matter where you are in the bracket, as far as if you love where you're working, but you want to make extra money, let us help you. If you're working and you want to make a lot of extra money, we can help you. If you want to have your own business, We can help you. Whatever you desire, but this can be a life-changing event. And all we want to do is have you here to listen, okay? So, coming to this event, you don't have to worry about you need to go get something to eat and all that. Come to us. We'll feed you that day. We will feed you. 2, just for coming, we will give you either a $200 gift card or a tablet or more gifts just for coming. Let me say that one more time. I know maybe you didn't hear us, right? Just for coming, we're going to give you a $200 gift card or a tablet or other gifts just for coming to this event that you're going to be coming for anyway, just because you want to hear about how to make more money. So,
Indeed.
have a good day.
Miss Carol, we're back. Globe Life Park, Arlington, Texas. We are back. Dr. James McConnell's the Small Business Network. I know that you have questions for Miss Brittany now. Correct.
Yes, absolutely, Dr. James. We're going to be talking about wisdom talk with tenacity and strength. So, and the first topic will be family dynamics with to Miss Brittany. Does the family you're born into have an effect on you? It goes to Miss Brittany.
Thank you, Ms. Carol. So, to some degree, society will tell you the family that you're born into will affect your outcome for life, for success, for, whether you're going to be, do great things or if you're going to be living in poverty but in our country, in the United States, not so much. The family you're born into, it may affect your psyche to some degree, but when you learn more about yourself and how to set goals, you can move forward and be whatever you want to be. A lot of people don't know my full story, but I've been through a lot. My parents met in jail, and out came me, a law-abiding citizen. So I had to make a choice as to what area of my life I was going to control. And as a result, I feel like I'm a successful individual as opposed to maybe some of my other family members who chose a different route and a different path. So if we're looking at our family tree, sometimes, yes, the way we're brought up, the way we think, has part of that is from our family dynamic. But when we can step outside of that and stop making excuses for past generations, and this is where breaking generational curses comes in, and I might talk about that next week. But when you can stop making excuses for what grandpa did or grandma did and really just take control of your own life, then it doesn't matter the hand that you was dealt. You can do whatever you want to do. And I'm a living witness to that.
All right. Sounds awesome. Another question for you, Miss Brittany. Does your past determine your future?
No, it doesn't. Again, because your past can help shape your future, but it doesn't determine where you're going to go. I mean, some people, I've met people who they had what we would consider the perfect childhood or the perfect life, and they're homeless now. So your choices that you make in life really determine your own future. What do you think about that, Dr. James?
Well, does your past determine your future? Absolutely. I believe a lot of times we talk about our upbringing and how we were formed, and it depends on how we're formed. Sometimes if you have, and sometimes we can go against the grain, but let's say if you were raised by drug addicts, right? And you were always let to stay out as long as you wanted, do whatever you want, and all that kind of stuff. Can a person still become successful in life? Absolutely. They can become rich people. They can become billionaires. But generally speaking, I say at least 75% of those people may have a hard time in life, right? And so
Yeah.
we're not talking about those 2 out of 10, 4 out of 20 that was able to get past it. So a lot of times your past does determine. On the other hand, you can have great parenting, you can have a great life, you can have everything for you, then you end up being a serial killer, right? But again, we're talking generally speaking, though. Out of 100 people that were raised by parents that care and making you come in at a certain time, which I'm saying that because my mom made me come in at a certain time.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I was mad at her.
When that light go off.
I was so upset at her. I was like, "You making me come in? I'm being embarrassed. I got friends looking at me like, what's wrong with you?" But I realized in the future, half of those friends that were still out there were doing things like robbing and selling drugs, and I found out a few of them got killed, and some of them ended up going to prison. And I can only recall out of the 10 people I knew that was hanging out after midnight or late.
Absolutely.
I can only think of 2 out of 12 of them that are living a decent life right now. So a lot of times your past does determine your future, but if you have a negative past, it doesn't mean that your future has to be etched in stone. It can be changed by you depending on the person and your mindset.
Absolutely.
And on that topic, what I'd like to say is I'd like to give the viewers something here. If you guys heard anything on this show from any one of us, from Mr. Keith, Dr. James, Miss Carol, or Brittany, that you can use for yourself or your show, text me, "I need help," at 469-765-5327. Again, text "I need help" to 469-765-5327, and one of us will get in touch with you. Imagine if you need some lawyer services. There's no one better than Mr. Keith and Williams Law Group. If you need publishing, there's no one better than Miss Carol Harper Poe. If you need dance instruction, courses on different things, anything with nonprofits and all that, there's no one better than Miss Brittany Wise. If you need your business to grow and prosper and all that good stuff, you want to make more money or you want to just grow your business, there's no one better than Dr. James McConnell.
Absolutely.
So we glad that the listeners and viewers are here. The show has ended. You guys have a really good day. We love you, and we'll see you next week. Dr. James McConnell's The Small Business Network.
Welcome to the Small Business Network show. Welcome to Dr. James.